Back in the early 2000s, these two cities near Mobile, Alabama were ranked 30 and 46 by population growth in the entire state. The cities of Daphne and Fairhope were expecting growth, but no one expected they grow double in size. So fast forward to today, and you have just that. Both Daphne and Fairhope are two of the most popular areas to live in just outside of Mobile, Alabama.
And they're just 1 hour north of Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. I can't tell y'all how many of our clients vacation down here and they get to thinking, you know what? I can totally move here and I can call this home.
I can stay here until then?
Yeah.
Then you have people moving here to start work in Mobile or Bay Minette's facility with Novelis, worth $2.2 billion. And then you have also $3.3 billion multi-ship contract for the Coast Guard.
That's a lot of cash.
Or maybe you're PCSing with the Coast Guard, or you're just taking a job with Airbus or the Port of Mobile. Whatever it is, you're definitely going to want to know about Daphne and Fairhope if you're trying to decide on a place to live here in Lower Alabama.
And there's no one better to hear it from than yours truly. I'm Tony, and this is my partner Jess, and we're your #1 relocation team in all of Lower Alabama. So whether you're thinking about moving to Daphne, Fairhope, Mobile, or anywhere in between, make sure you give us a call to move on down.
Okay, so let's talk about these two cities and some pros and some cons of living in Daphne and Fairhope, Alabama. Today I get to play devil's advocate. I'm a huge fan of Mobile and Daphne and Fairhope. We've actually lived in all three places and nowhere is perfect, and we're here to tell y'all that there's some things that might be deal breakers for you if you're planning on moving here.
And some of these things might catch you off guard. So our plan is to give you our viewpoints from both sides of the topics, and we'll do our best to talk about everything. I get that a lot, you know, and we just don't have enough time to go over everything you want to hear. So we'll go over what's the most relevant. Now let's jump into it and talk about the location of both Daphne and Fairhope, Alabama.
Both of these neighboring cities are off Highway 98 and 181, right on the eastern shore. And if you work in Mobile, you'll have to cross the Mobile Bay Bridge, or the Bayway as us locals refer to it, to get back and forth.
And real quick, AlDOT is moving forward with a new $2.7 billion bridge project, so that should be bringing some more jobs to the area too.
Yeah, and they cannot move fast enough. We need that to happen yesterday. I feel like every single week there's another accident on the I-10 bridge, and it creates a complete standstill because there's only 2 lanes on that entire 7-mile bayway.
She's starting to sound like a local. But yep, that was me last week on my way home from golfing at Magnolia. A semi-crash had everybody stopped, and I'm just really happy to hear that they're moving forward with the bridge expansion. So part of the popularity with these two areas is that Daphne and Fairhope, you can live, you know, pretty close to Mobile for work and Gulf Shores for the beach without actually having to live in the hustle and bustle of both areas.
Yeah, the location is like the sweet spot. You like that golf reference?
Yeah, it's all right.
It's pretty common to see military families living off the base in these two communities because of the close proximity to the Coast Guard base or the Army Corps of Engineers that's right in downtown Mobile. And I know it may seem like we always are focusing on Mobile, so let's say you work up in Bay Minette or LOXLEY or even over in Pensacola. Fairhope and Daphne, being so close to I-10, will still give you easy access for your commute to all of those cities.
But if you're like me and you want to take the scenic route, you can do that too. There's no need to jump on I-10 if you're going to any of those places. Even when you're going to Mobile, you can take the Bayway, like she said, or you can take the Causeway.
All right, well, since you mentioned Causeway, let me interrupt really quick. The Causeway is where you're gonna find some of the hands down best restaurants in all of Lower Alabama. And you'll also find the USS Alabama Battleship too.
That's right. That's why I love living here. You get the best of both worlds. You're close to work, you're close to the beach or water and, you know, all the amenities that we have, whether it's in the city or along the eastern shore just nearby.
And now on to some of those cons. I wasn't gonna make you wait that long for them. As we were saying before, the area exploded over the last 2 decades, and in my opinion, they didn't plan the roadways out the best for its growth. There could be traffic, but it's only gonna tack on another 20 to 25 minutes at most, so it's not like living in a big metro city where it would take us an hour to go 1 city block like it did up in Chicago.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. I personally think the interstate is always worse. Fighting through the neighborhood traffic during rush hour is a piece of cake. I mean, if you can plan around it, go ahead and save the 20 minutes, but I'm telling you, it's manageable. Definitely not the end of the world like some people make it seem. And the other topic I want to jump into is the lifestyle. When people ask us about the lifestyle in the area, I always feel like it's a nice combination of a community and, you know, everything you have to do in that area.
Most definitely. So let's talk about this as our next pro. And this is for all of you outdoor enthusiasts. You'll love the variety of parks and walking trails nearby. The Eastern Shore Trail is our absolute favorite. It's a paved walking / biking trail that runs right along Mobile Bay from Daphne to the Fairhope Pier and down to Point Clear and the Grand Hotel and beyond. You'll have some really beautiful views up the bay. There's this canopy of old live oaks with all that hanging Spanish moss. And of course, you're gonna have all these beautiful homes along the bay to look at.
I like walking off the trail and just dipping my feet into the water, but she will never join me.
No, that bay is way too murky. That's all you.
I tell her she'll be fine.
No, and there's lots of gators. No, thank you, sir. I'll wait till we get to the American Legion. They're right on the water, and you can stop and have a drink, grab a bite, and you don't have to worry about losing any toes, so I'll stick to that.
Such a baby. And while you're out there, you might spot some gators or turtles, but they're usually minding their own business, and if you're really lucky, you might see some dolphins passing through too.
Not always. People do not follow the rules down here, and they definitely feed the gators along the shore of the bay. We were just showing a house on the bay a couple of weeks ago, and do you remember we walked down to the pier and we barely stepped 1 foot on the pier and 2 gators swam right up and they were looking for snacks. So needless to say, I didn't stay long. And next weekend we're supposed to go sailing on the bay, and I don't know how I feel about that.
You'll be fine. Just be happy we're not going down in a submarine somewhere.
Hell no, that's a hard pass. But I know if you could, you definitely would, y'all. This guy makes me go paddleboarding, kayaking, out here knowing that there's gators and sharks and snakes. It's
she
crazy.
says, I'm telling you, she says this stuff now, but when she's out there, she's loving life.
Fearing for life.
Yeah, no, don't let her fool you. And what a lot of our clients love is that if you choose Daphne or Fairhope to call home, you'll be able to experience everything I'm talking about and more than that.
Gators included.
Yeah. Finding a home that suits you within Daphne or Fairhope shouldn't be a problem. And I say shouldn't because we always have those one-offs where someone is looking for a house with all the bells and whistles for a price that was left in the 2000s like I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah, but we do have a wide variety of neighborhoods with everything from established communities like Rock Creek or Lake Forest, and then there's the new communities like Jubilee Farms, Old Battles Village, or Colony at the Grand. And affordability has always been a pro in both Fairhope and the Daphne areas, but that may slowly start to become a con.
And she just named a couple areas. Like
yeah,
that doesn't
hundreds.
even scratch the surface.
But yeah, that slowly may become a con with the area's growth over the past 10 years. The area is becoming somewhat built out, and most affordable land for builders is pretty much further east in the more rural areas. This makes an area that was once considered very affordable not so much for everyone. Now, average homes here are still more affordable compared to some of these other states, but being in the highly desired cities of Daphne and Fairhope, where you're pretty close to the most gorgeous beaches in the country, and there's also a really phenomenal school system, we're actually really starting to see like a premium for that.
Now, Jess mentioned schools, and that leads me to the next topic. What if you move to these areas and you have kids? Well, schools are probably on top of your list. So I have some good news and I have some bad news. Both Daphne and Fairhope have great schools, but the problem I found is that they're not all equal. Some are better in certain areas than others, and some prefer one over the other, so it really depends on what you're looking for personally. But what I can say is that no matter what, your child is gonna get a good education.
Yeah, and Baldwin County even has a satellite school that has really good ratings. So if you're not wanting to go to a campus, or maybe you just can't, there are other options besides homeschooling. Just check out sites like greatschools.org or niche.com and you'll see exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's definitely a good starting point. I always say you'll want to schedule a tour with the school and talk to the parents or the teachers or the principal. And I've found out that some parents love certain schools even if the ratings aren't a 10 out of 10.
So the question remains, why would somebody want to live in Daphne or Fairhope, Alabama?
Well, I always say there's a lid for every pot. Every area has its own vibe, and they aren't popular areas just for no reason. We happen to be right in between Mobile and Gulf Shores, which helps us for work purposes, but also when we want to go out there and enjoy ourselves. There are affordable housing options, and it makes sense for military families wanting to live off base or retirees who, want to be close to one of Mobile's healthcare facilities if they're not going to Thomas Hospital right here in Fairhope.
And you can find a brand new house in an older area that's established or somewhere brand new with amenities galore.
Or in the country where you have some room to breathe. There's options for everyone.
And there are tons of things to do nearby. If you want shopping, we've got it. If you want to go out for dining and entertainment, we've got that too. Everything's within an easy drive. So if you can handle a few of those cons that we mentioned, this area might be the perfect place for you to call home.
So just like anywhere, the Daphne and Fairhope area has their negatives. But if you're looking for an area with southern hospitality, warm weather year round, an affordable cost of living, and a place that makes Mayberry look like Detroit, then you've come to the right place.
And if you're looking to call this slice of heaven home, make sure you reach out to us, the #1 relocation team in all of Lower Alabama. Days, nights, weekends, we've got your back when moving anywhere in LA. So make sure you reach out and like and subscribe if you found this video at all helpful, and we'll see you all in the next one.